Hey, what's up? Welcome to English with Dane, a show designed to help Spanish speakers improve their English. As always, I'm your host, Dane, and today's episode is one I've been wanting to do for a while, que llevo queriendo hacer, that I've been wanting to do for a while, because it's something I think a lot of you are thinking way too much about, and that is your English level. A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, does that sound familiar? This system is called CEFR, which stands for the Common European Framework of References for Languages. Well, today I want to tell you why I think this system is flawed, limiting, and sometimes even dangerous for your motivation, confidence, and progress. So if you've ever said something like, oh, I'm just B1, or I need to get to C1, this episode is 100% for you. Also, stick around till the end of the episode for the vocabulary check, where we make sure that you understood certain words, expressions, phrases that might be a bit tricky. That said, let's get into it. You are listening to episode 5 of season 2 of English with Dane. Hit it. Okay, we have officially started the show, so let's talk about why this system is flawed. A flaw, by the way, spelled F-L-A-W, is an imperfection, una falla, etc. So if something is flawed, then it has some issues or problems that can be fixed. I have 7 reasons for you today, and before I get into them, I want to say that this episode isn't just to talk shit about the system, it's more about why I think these levels are holding you back. Reason number 1, the CEFR levels are artificially linear, but language learning isn't. So this system that most people use to describe their English, which is the one that gives you labels like A1, A2, B1, etc., looks really organized. It looks scientific. It makes it seem like language learning is like going up a ladder, una escalera. First you learn a little bit of English, A1, then a little more, A2, then you have conversations, B1, and eventually you're a native speaker, right? Wrong. Language learning is not a ladder or a staircase. It's more like a jungle gym, esos juegos de niños que ves en el parque con toboganes, tubos, barras, etc. Or one of those messy drawings that show how a startup becomes successful, full of ups and downs, loops, and messy progress. You don't just climb through English in a straight line. You might be super confident speaking, like a B2 or C1, but struggle writing emails, maybe A2. You might read novels easily, but panic during a phone call. That's normal. That's human. But the CEFR system doesn't see it that way. It assumes you grow equally in reading, writing, speaking, listening, grammar, vocabulary, everything. And that just doesn't match reality. It's not a good representation of reality. So when someone tells you, you're B1, it can make you feel like you're stuck there, like you're not good enough to move forward, and that's just not true. It labels you, and it's a label that we ourselves reinforce over and over. Reason number 2, these levels were designed for bureaucracy, not for people. Let's quickly talk about why this system exists in the first place. The CEFR was not created to help you enjoy English more. It wasn't created to help you make friends or watch movies without subtitles. It was created for institutions, for universities, governments, and exam centers to have a standardized way to measure language ability. It's for comparing students, not empowering them. And that's fine for schools, for immigration, or for official certifications. But most people don't need that kind of measurement in their daily lives. You don't need a test to know if you can understand a YouTube video or hold a conversation with someone from New York or London. And here's the dark side of it, el lado oscuro. This system has become part of a massive industry that profits from your insecurity. Exams like IELTS or TOEFL and even some language schools make money by telling you you're not quite there yet and you need another course, another book, another test. And listen, I'm not saying all tests are evil. If you need to take one for a visa or a university program, okay, sure. But for most people, They're just expensive permission slips to feel good about your English. Let me repeat that so it really sinks in. They're just expensive permission slips to feel good about your English. It does not reflect how you actually use the language. And this leads me to the next reason. Reason number 3. They serve a business model, not a learning model. Have you ever felt like you're, quote unquote, almost fluent, but you just need one more course or textbook to really get you there? Yeah, that's by design. Many language schools, exam centers, and publishers rely on this level system because it creates an illusion of progress. Every level means a new goal. Every goal means a new course. Every course means new materials. It's like a gym membership that you can never cancel because you always feel like you should be doing more. And it makes you dependent on external validation, on scores or certificates, and that takes the focus away from the most important part of learning, actually using the language to connect, to express, and enjoy. If you're waiting until you're a C1 to start speaking, you're probably wasting time. Use what you know now, make mistakes, and learn from them. That's how it actually works. Reason number 4, they ignore what really matters: communication. Let's talk about motivation for a second. So, I've had so many listeners and students write to me saying, I feel stuck at B2, or I've been trying to get to C1 for a year. And the truth is, they're probably already capable of doing a lot in English, but the label is making them feel like they're not good enough yet. Why? Because once you say, I'm B1, it becomes kind of an identity, like a box you live in or a label you carry with you. And when you focus only on getting to the next level, you forget to celebrate your real-world progress. Things like understanding a full podcast episode, or making a joke in English and having people laugh, ordering at a restaurant without panicking, sending a work email without using Google Translate. Those are wins, those are victories. But the level system often ignores those completely. And research shows that when people chase rigid goals like grades or levels, it can actually lower motivation, especially if you feel stuck or frustrated. But when people focus on the process, the learning, the discovery, and the fun, they stick with it longer and enjoy it way more. So if you're feeling unmotivated, ask yourself, am I focusing too much on the label and not enough on the journey? This goes back to episode 2 of season 2, so 3 episodes ago. It's genuine curiosity that takes you where you want to go, and not a sense that you have to reach the next level, because that next level is ultimately an illusion that you will never fulfill. Reason number 5. This level system can damage motivation and confidence. This is a huge one. You can have a C1 level and sound unnatural and robotic when you speak. And you can have a B1 level and have incredible conversations. Why? Because tests and exams reward accuracy, not communication. They want the correct verb tense. They penalize mistakes, even when those mistakes don't affect understanding at all. But in the real world, no one cares about that stuff as much as you think. People care if they can understand you, if you can express ideas, if you can connect, because that's what language is for. And honestly, some of the most fluent speakers I know make grammatical mistakes all the time, but they're confident and they don't apologize for their accent. And they don't wait for someone to approve their level. They just use the language and keep getting better by using it. Which leads me to reason number 6. Levels don't measure real-world usage. Another problem with these levels is that they measure what can be tested on paper, not what actually matters in real life. You might get a B2 on your listening exam, but still panic when someone calls you in English. You might pass a writing test, but still freeze when someone asks you to introduce yourself at a party. Why? Because real language happens in messy, emotional, and unpredictable situations. with slang, jerga, and with jokes, with accents and awkward silences. And exams just aren't built for that. So don't let your test score decide how you feel about your English. Personally, I think it's better to ask yourself, can I understand most of my favorite shows without subtitles? Can I have conversations with real people? Can I explain an idea or tell a story? Those things matter much more than your score ever will. I promise you that. And finally, reason number 7. The CEFR level system doesn't reflect personal goals or interests. Let me ask you something important. Why are you learning English, or why are you trying to improve your English? To pass a test? Or to travel? To work? To make friends? To watch Netflix without subtitles? To date someone? To understand memes? Whatever your reason is, it's valid. But it's probably not about mastering the passive voice in all 12 tenses. The CEFR levels are designed for mass testing, but your journey is personal. You don't need to follow someone else's checklist. You need to build your own relationship with English. That means following your interests. That means using the language in ways that make you excited, not stressed. If you're learning English for movies, then focus on movie vocabulary. If you're learning to talk with clients, focus on conversational skills, not past participles. You're allowed to skip the parts that don't serve you. Again, you're allowed to skip the parts that don't serve you. But with the current system, it feels like you aren't allowed to do the most important thing, which is be yourself. So, what can you do instead? Okay, so if the level system is flawed, what now? Ahora qué? Here's what I suggest. First, forget the labels. Stop saying, I'm just B1. Say, I can talk about this, or I can understand that, or I want to get better at this. Second, focus on usage. Use English every day, even if it's just a little. Listen to music, watch shows, write a journal, speak out loud to yourself, etc. Third, track your real progress. Not test scores, but real life wins. What you understood, what you said, what made you laugh, what you felt in English. Fourth, learn what matters to you. Don't follow someone else's curriculum. Follow your curiosity. Fifth, and this is the most important one, enjoy the process. If it's not fun, it's not sustainable. Let me say that again. If it's not fun, it's not sustainable. Language is culture, language is emotion, it's humor, and it's storytelling. So go make it a part of your life. These labels of A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2 are not who you are, and they're just not a true description of your abilities as a communicator and as a person. And again, this is not meant to devalue the work you've done to achieve your certification. That work has been done, and you did it, and it was valuable too in its own way. I don't think knowing every verb tense is bad. I know it will be useful to you, but it's just not what's important. If I were hiring someone, si fuese a contratar a alguien, if I were hiring someone, I would always prioritize someone who is confident in their communication skills over someone who has perfect grammar but struggles with communicating and confidence. I'm also aware that telling someone who isn't confident to be confident is like telling someone who is depressed to just be happy. I know that. But what I also know firsthand is that confidence is something you can practice, build on, and ultimately internalize. And if that feels like an impossible task, I promise you that it's not true. We build our self-esteem and our confidence like we build other skills. You work on them until one day they are undeniable. I hope this helps. And I know that some of you right now are listening and you're feeling relief, right? You're relieved to hear all of this, while some of you are maybe panicking, thinking that I'm telling you that you're approaching this all wrong. I don't think that. This is meant to liberate you a little bit so you can get to the ultimate goal, which is communication that is true to who you are. All right, before we finish, let's take a look at a few words I used that I want you to incorporate into your arsenal of vocabulary. So let's do a quick vocabulary check. Not a lot of complicated language in this week's episode, so let's just do 2 quick ones. I used the phrasal verb to sink in. To sink in. What I said was, let me repeat that so it really sinks in. So to sink in means to become completely known, felt, or understood. I guess in Spanish, it's like saying absorber, interiorizar, entender. You'll often hear the phrase, just let that sink in, which is used for emphasis and to give people a second to really understand or grasp what you're saying.
Let that sink in.
I also use the word reward. I know you probably know that word, recompensa, but maybe you haven't used it as a verb before, to reward someone or maybe yourself. The sentence I said was, because tests and exams reward accuracy, not communication. All right, that's it for this episode of English with Dane. If you take one thing from today, let it be this. Your English level does not define your ability to connect, to understand, to express, or to enjoy the language. Forget the levels. Focus on the life you want to live in English and start living it now. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend who's learning English, or even better, post about it on social media and tag me. If you haven't already, hit follow so you don't miss future episodes. It's 1 second of your day that actually helps me to get this podcast to more people. All right, catch you on the next one. Peace.